Welcome to Fair and Square, a weekly program where we square up and square with famous public personalities. Our guest today is one of the finest soldiers of post-independence India, Lieutenant General S.K. Sinha. He was the Western Army Commander and then the Vice Chief of Army Staff. Later, he was appointed India's ambassador to Nepal and then the Governor of Assam and then the state of Jammu and Kashmir. He is a military historian and thinker par excellence. Welcome to Fair and Square, General Sinha. General, you had a very impressive track record in the army from the very beginning, even when you were in the training academy. Did you come from an army background?
No. My father and grandfather were in the police. My grandfather was the only Indian in British days to have become the chief of police of his province. And after 47, my father followed him. So army was not a career I ever thought I'll be taking on. But in 1942, after the Quit India movement, I decided to join the army.
You come from Bihar, and because of the 1857 mutiny, there is a feeling that the British mistrusted or distrusted the people from Bihar. As a young officer in the British Indian Army, did you at any point of time feel that kind of mistrust or distrust with you?
Yeah, not only the British, even my Indian friends in the academy when I was a cadet sort of pulled my legs. You've come from a non-martial class. And a very good Sikh friend of mine told me that once. So I said, you can't say that, because someone from Bihar made the Sikhs a martial class, and I come from the same place where Guru Gobind Singh was born.
During the partition in 1947, you were serving in the Directorate of Military Operations, the DMO at that point of time. What do you recall of the dispute and the crisis in Kashmir of that time?
There were only 3 Indians who had been inducted. Otherwise, MO was a preserve exclusively of British officers. Even the clerks were all British. The 3 Indians were Manekshaw, Yahya Khan, and I, dealing with internal security. And I had a grandstand view of the partition Holocaust, because the army was extensively used. And we were moving in a mobile headquarters given to us by Mountbatten between Delhi and Lahore in those days. 26th of October 47, we were told that we go to Kashmir tomorrow. The Maharaja has acceded. And the general told me that I, being the only Indian officer, could be sent there. Others were all British, they could not go.
They wanted to maintain some kind of neutrality.
That's right, and I organized the airlift from Safdarjung airport in Delhi to Srinagar airfield.
And this airlift changed the scene altogether?
Completely. Mountbatten wrote about that airlift. In my long experience of war, I have not come across another such massive airlift carried out at such short notice and so successfully. That saved Kashmir.
Yes. Later, General, you played a crucial role in the delineation of the ceasefire line. You were the Secretary of the Indian delegation to the United Nations at that point of time. Looking back, do you think it was a mistake on India's part to have actually sought UN intervention on Kashmir?
Entirely. Because it came in our way on 3 occasions. On 14th of November 47, we were prevented from going to Muzaffarabad when we had reached Uri, and we were told instead to go south to Poonch, which is a great blunder. The second, we were launched our offensive on 22nd May 1948. And by 1st of June, we had progressed. We had advanced about 12 miles from Uri to a place called Urusa, and our right hook across the Nasachun Pass had reached Titwal, tantalizingly close to Muzaffarabad.
So it was as close as this.
Yeah, and then the UN Commission had sent a committee to both India and Pakistan. They made a request. Neither side should undertake offensive operations.
So which was the third occasion?
The third occasion was, I would say, on 31st of December, 1948. We agreed to a ceasefire. And the army had not even been given 10 days notice, because we were on the tops at that time, having relieved Poonch, defeated a division of Pakistan Army there in Rajouri sector, having broken through Zojila and linked up with Leh. And if we even had 2 or 3 days notice, there were certain areas on the LOC which we could have captured and straightened out. So that was a disaster.
Now you seen Kashmir from very close quarters in 1947, then you commanded a division in the 70s in Kashmir, and later you were the governor in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Now as Western Army commander, you saw the Punjab problem from very close quarters. And I remember in the early 80s, you did not let the army get involved in the Mehta Chowk Gurdwara incident. What really happened?
You see, there was a little history before the Mehta Chowk Gurdwara incident. Defense Minister Venkatraman had come to Bhatinda, and I, as Western Army commander, was there to accompany him on his tour. And during the tour, I said, sir, I want to talk to you about the Punjab problem, the Kali problem. And he told me, General, that is a political problem. We don't want our generals to get involved in politics. So I said, yes, you're very right, sir. But apart from being defense minister, you're part of the committee of the cabinet negotiating with the Kalis. And I, as Western Army commander, have certain views which I want to place before you. And of course, it verges on politics, but at a certain level, there is a very thin line dividing strategy and politics.
Yes.
I have 3 reasons why I want to raise this issue with you. Number 1, I'm responsible for the defense of Punjab in event of war with Pakistan.
Right.
And if this problem continues to fester, it may affect my operational plans, because I'll have to look over the shoulder to what is happening inside while fighting Pakistan forces. So I have to plan for that contingency. Reason I have is that I am also responsible for internal security. If the police or civil state government cannot handle the situation, the army will be called in. So I have to be prepared for that contingency. And my third reason is that in my army of 300,000, there are 80,000 sick soldiers. This problem may affect the discipline and morale. So he then asked me, what do you want me to do? I said, all that I want you to do is to resolve the problem. And how we do it...
This must have been 1981?
A little before Mehta Chowk. You resolve the problem. As to how we do it is beyond me. He said, you know, it is politics. Then he turned down to me, suppose you were in my shoes. What would you do? So I said, sir, as far as I can see, the Kalis have 3 demands. Number 1, express train
It was to be named the
Golden Temple,
Golden Temple Express.
What is the problem? This should be done straight away. The second demand is that cigarette shops within 100 yards of the Golden Temple should be moved out. I said, that again is so simple. Shouldn't take us more than a couple of minutes. And the shops which are being moved, give them a generous compensation. And the third request is that Gurbani
Be transmitted
from the Golden Temple. I said, why not? Not only the Sikhs, but I come from Bihar. People in Patna would welcome hearing Gurbani from Golden Temple on the radio. So he said, well, it's all politics. And in politics, you give an inch, you will have to give a yard. Today, these are innocuous things. Tomorrow the demand will come. Declare Amritsar a Vatican city. So I said, I'm like the Vatican. So I said, the demand has not yet come. And when it comes, you can take a decision. And that ended. Then the Mehta Chowk episode took place.
In Mehta Chowk, I think you were asked to get Bhindranwale and his group out of the Gurdwara.
The situation was that Bhindranwala was in Mehta Chowk. He had met Zail Singh, the Home Minister in Delhi, coming from Bombay with 30-40 rifles with him. No one had done anything. And I was rung up by the Chief Secretary of Punjab, I think Puri was his name.
Yes.
He said, General, Bhindranwala has to be arrested. He is in the Gurdwara. And could you give us a few tanks? So I said, look.
Give you a few tanks?
Okay. I said, it's a very strange request. The army doesn't give its weapons to the police. It uses its weapons itself. And when it is called in aid of the police, we use our weapons. We don't hand over our weapons like this. And tanks, policemen are not trained to use it. So I don't know what you will do with it. And even if you have some ex-servicemen from Armored Corps in the police, they can use it. The problem would arise, what are the repercussions? Then he says, well, we wanted it, but if you can't do it, we'll have to do something. After that, I get a message from Darbara Singh. He was the Chief Minister.
Yes,
I went to see him. He said, General Saab, my Chief Secretary has told me that you cannot give us tanks and you have very valid reasons for it, and I agree with you. But do one thing for us. Send the army, arrest Bhindranwala and clear up the place. So I said, sir, the army has no powers of arrest. The police can arrest, the army cannot. And I would advise you to use the police for that. He said, but Bhindranwala has got 30-40 rifles. So I said, so have you. The armed police, the CRP, use them. And then he said in Punjabi, "Tusi sanu madad nahi karte." Well, I said, I'm very sorry, sir. And our meeting ended. 2 days later, my Chief of Staff, General Puri, he